story is about a young boy that has shown a talent in magic since he was a kid. He was even hailed as a genius. But by the time he attended the academy, he found out that he was cursed. He cannot cast magic. That's when he got bullied and started to lose hope. Until something came up. Our main character received a system and made him a player. A god that is capable of destroying worlds gave him power. Now, if this got your attention, watch the whole story. The title of the manhwa is Mightiest Melee Magician. At the perfect timing, someone knocked at the door. When the person entered, the dean informed Lewin that what will be helpful to him is a body arts class, rather than a magic class. So, the dean invited a professor to help him with his body arts. Lewin recognized that man, especially when this person greeted him and called him a desperate student. The knight asked him, "What's with his face?" and he confirmed if Lewin doesn't want to see him. It was Gulter Pirante. He is the Knight Order leader of the Foldren territory. He is one of the only 5 6th-rank knights that exist in the Radiant Kingdom, and it's the same person that Lewin worked with during the 3rd exam. He never expected that he would be receiving body arts class from him. Before they start, the knight told him that there are some things that he must confirm. Sir Gulter heard from Professor Heidel that Lewin is a special magician who has no choice but to fight at close range. He asked if that is true. Lewin answered that he's correct. Sir Gulter expressed that from what he saw last time, Lewin's movement is quite good. It was concise and devoid of unnecessary movement. But he told Lewin that it was obvious that he didn't learn martial arts. Sir Gulter told him that his movements before have worked on ogres, but a skilled knight would have read them through. And no matter how strong he is, opponents who use body arts can figure out Lewin's attacks just by looking at his shoulder and hip movements. In his head, Lewin knew that Sir Gulter was right because the movements Lewin had learned were only repeated motions for the quest, so what can be used in practice is very limited. Sir Gulter told him not to worry too much because if he learned from him, Lewin's movements would change from the basics. Then he asked Lewin if he's ready to begin the training right away. He told Lewin that the most important thing for a knight is their feet. It is because the feet gives strength to the sword and allows it to predict the enemy's movements. As such, Lewin will need to learn how to walk properly. Only by learning the correct walk can Lewin learn proper body arts. The heavenly martial arts is a martial art that knights commonly learn in the training center. Lewin took the training seriously. Sir Gulter informed him that excluding the sword techniques, the heavenly martial arts consisted of a total of 36 martial movements. Lewin was giving his all. He moved fast to punch and kick, and he did it over and over again. Sir Gulter looked proud. Earlier, Lewin asked him why he is teaching him martial arts when it had no benefits to him. On top of that, it requires Sir Gulter to come into the academy every day to work. Sir Gulter told him that it's his investment. Simply to say, he just met someone who seems like that person would become a great magician. So if he helped out the future magician, he saw that it was a worthwhile investment. Lewin was honored to have him as an instructor. Sir Gulter felt awkward with that. Also, he requested to be addressed as an older brother, since he's only in his 20s. Lewin trained hard, under the supervision of his older brother Gulter. While observing him, Gulter admitted in his head that Lewin is doing great and he has grit. When Lewin defeated the ogre, Gulter checked the corpse and he saw that the ogre's jaw broke. He described Lewin as a melee-type magician, stronger than ogres, and that caught his interest. Just like that, 3 weeks had passed. Lewin's skill in body arts have increased and it reached level 10. As a reward, the effects of the skill the Magician of Madness will be enhanced. In addition to that, he can also imbue every part of his body with magic. Lewin felt the level up in his body. He told Strang that the effects are incredible. Strang replied that it was thanks to that he had reached rank 3. A blue window displayed that Lewin's strength is at 2,130. Lewin felt that strength coursing through his body. Strang commented that Lewin is getting stronger at a quick pace. He narrated that Draca took 2,000 strength over a year and a half after they met each other. Lewin asked if he's right, that it's just a gap in perception of the time between human and a dragon. Someone called out to Lewin. He asked Jason on what's wrong. Jason asked if he had seen it. He asked what it was. Jason informed him that the list of participants for the Grand Festival has been posted. Lewin Ardell was announced in the first place. He can vividly recall the entrance ceremony where he represented the new students and stood on the podium. Because of this, he became the subject of jealousy and doubtful gazes. In response to their jealousy, he had been acting pathetic for the past 5 years. He could only watch from afar as Mikkel received all the congratulatory messages. But now it's different. He ran towards the announcement board. Lewin had such a big smile on his face. He was listed as the representative. Students who saw him there were pleased to see him. They rushed towards him to congratulate him. It took him a long time, but he became a representative of the academy again. Oh, and Jason made it on the list too. Professor Heidel expressed that he was surprised when Sir Gulter said that Lewin had mastered the heavenly martial arts. But Lewin being a 5th-class novice at 16, Professor Heidel couldn't help but admit that Lewin's genius talent scares him. He let Lewin know that he has faith that he will do well. Like that, preparations for the Grand Festival proceeded without a hitch. And just in time, they headed to Altain, where the Grand Festival was held. Students were talking about getting on the Mana train. Most of them haven't rode it before. A student narrated that there are only 2 transit points in the Radian Kingdom, but they say that the Raynak Imperial Federation has over 100 transit points. A student butts in that it was obvious because it was an empire, while they are in the smallest of the small nations. One student commented that those country bumpkins are making all the fuss over a Mana train. Jason heard that, and he asked what. The student told them to stop acting tacky and to be quiet. That made Jason furious. That bastard is Henke's, Mikkel's lackey who participated in the Magic Festival last year together with him. Henke's told them that if they thought Lewin would show some kind of miracle during the Grand Festival, they should just give up. He added that Lewin is full of himself just because he got good grades for the first semester. Another student chimed in and expressed that the representatives of each college are very much like ghosts, and they would have had a better chance of winning if Mikkel, who had fought against them, were chosen as a representative. Henkes made it known to everyone that he doesn't acknowledge Lewin as their representative, so they should just take good care of things for themselves. Jason tries to hold back his anger. Lewin understood that there are a lot of bastards who want to benefit even just a little bit by latching themselves to the Gary Hill family, but he also knew that they have to do well in the competition with those guys. He told them that Mikkel must be delighted, because the dogs are still loyal to him even when Mikkel, the owner, is about to be kicked out. Henkes got triggered upon being called a dog. Lewin replied that it was such a relief that his clear message was understood with the kind of intelligence level that Henkes had. Henkes had a lot more things to say, but Lewin cut him mid-sentence and told him to listen up. He informed Henkes and the other lackeys that the Grand Festival will be on a different level with the last magic festivals they have experienced, and if they get a good result, they will receive better opportunities that they won't get from that Gary Hill family. Henkes argued that it will only work if they have good results, but he doubted if that's possible. He described the competitors as monsters, and in the end their fate is to be stuck in the Radiant Kingdom and work under the Gary Hill. Henkes was about to say to Lewin that he should wake up from his dream, but Lewin told him that it's possible. Henkes was taken aback. Lewin explained that the Grand Festival is an event where collaboration is important, and he advised that it might be better not to embrace elements that interfere with teamwork. Henkes asked if it means Lewin will compete without them. In response to that, Lewin suggested that while they are on the way, Henkes and the others should think over who their representative is right now, and made sure to let them know that there is no Gary Hill in there that will recognize his loyalty. Henkes told Lewin that if Lewin flunked his first individual battle, he wouldn't listen to any commands during the Grand Festival. They rode the Mana train. Students were amazed at how fast it was. Meanwhile, Strang was also being loud on commenting how the world had become a good place. A door inside the train opened. A student announced that he smelled the scent of a loser somewhere, and this student mentioned that there are country bumpkins of the Academy. Lewin recognized the pattern on this student's uniform. It signifies Oyota National Magic Institute. Oyota National Magic Institute is the only training school in Oyota, a sand kingdom built on a desert. It is renowned for their ancient history. They were especially known for honing their swordsmanship and bodies to the extreme. Lewin wondered what those students were doing there. Then this student looked for Mikkel Garyhill. He asked if Mikkel ran away due to odds and sods. As an added insult, he expressed that he was about to ask Mikkel to take good care of them this year too, as his servant. Then this student laughed out loud. He told the country bumpkins that they are in charge of coming last place this year too. Strang expressed how Lewin is so patient, to the point that he could stay still even after hearing those words. Lewin had no idea because he couldn't get in the position all this time, but it's obvious how their academy is being treated. He glanced at someone. It was Professor Heidel. It's obvious that the professor had no plans on stepping in. It's because the Grand Festival is a competition of students, and the professor is only there as a guide. So Lewin understood that the authority and responsibility for the team falls in his hands as the representative of the academy. The guy approached Hankies and asked for Michael Garyhill. Hankies appeared nervous. Someone spoke and informed the guy that Michael is probably bedridden, praying for his broken ribs to stick back properly right about now. The guy checked the person who spoke, and he saw one student standing up. Hankies told the guy that it's their academy's representative. The student was doubtful, since it's his first time seeing Lewin. He walked towards Lewin's direction. He introduced himself as Oyota's representative, Seta Malkiri. Then he asked for Lewin's name. Lewin mentioned his name. Lewin told the guy that it was enough greeting, and if he's done picking a fight, he should get out of their compartment now. The guy was stunned. Lewin added that he expected a sincere apology for calling them acadummies. This made Seta Malkiri angry. He was triggered when he was asked to apologize. The guy asked Hankies if he didn't even tell their new rep about him, Seta Malkiri. Hankies was anxious to answer. Seta pushed Hankies to do it properly. He threatened Hankies that he would beat him up so Hankies won't forget. Lewin caught on that. He wondered if that's the reason why the students who attended the Magic Festival tremble at the sight of Oyota. He assumed that they must have been assaulted by Seta Malkiri. Lewin realized that it was all part of the plan to kill the team's spirits before the match. He figured out that the Grand Festival had already begun. Lewin asked if Seta wanted to go for a round. Seta commented that Lewin must have really lost his mind. Seta told him that he won't cower, and Lewin shouldn't regret it after getting hit. Before Seta could throw a punch, a man commanded him to stop at once. It was their professor. The professor scolded him for the fuss before the match. In a condescending tone, the professor asked him if he really wanted to make enemies from the beginning. The professor turned to Professor Heidel and apologized for their students' rude behavior. Then the professor pushed Seta back into their compartment. Before fully disappearing, Seta warned Lewin that he'll see him later. Lewin watched him leave. Then he uttered that just as he thought, "It's not from the start." Seta asked the professor why he stopped them. When it was the professor who proposed that method, Seta was so confused. The professor sighed and asked if he didn't see it. Seta had no idea what he's talking about. The professor replied he was smiling. Professor Heidel of Ignit Academy was smiling while watching them as if he was looking forward to the fight. Seta suggested that it could be a coincidence. The professor sighed and admitted that he's not sure. But what he had observed is that guy Lewin certainly has something that they don't know about. The professor is certain that he's a different guy from Michael Garyhill that fought him last time. That made Seta quiet. After the Oyota students came and left, the atmosphere inside the cabin oddly changed. The students crowd around Lewin. They talked about the first match that will be against a group competition without the representative. So, if Lewin's not joining, they wonder if they can do it among themselves. One student was spirited as he expressed that they should not lose. That immediately vanished the worries of the others. Lewin smiled as he thought that, just up until a while ago, those students who were filled with jealousy and ego started to unite as one. They asked if Lewin's okay. Hankies told him that he was too rash just now. He told him that those guys grew up fighting their entire lives, and if a fight broke out. But they did not expect Lewin to ask if they weren't feeling angry. Lewin told them that those bastards disrespected them, and him, their representative, right on his face. He asked them what if he, the rep, just stayed still. He explained to them that those bastards may get even more excited and could make fun of them even more. The students agreed, but they tried to reason out. Lewin added that if they had stayed still, they would have really become acadummies. He asked the guys if that's what they want. The guys were sullen as Lewin asked them if they would continue being disrespected. With passion, Lewin announced to the guys that it's because they let them beat them up. That's why they have been disrespected for 5 years. That evoked strong emotions from Hankies. Lewin continued to ask about what they planned to do. He expressed that it might not be the right time for them to have internal fights because of ego. A student suggested that he place Henkes as the gatekeeper in the arrowball match. He asked for Lewin's insight. While Henkes blushed at the suggestion, Lewin had observed that Michael's lackeys had decided to join him on the grand festival too. He wished for them to maintain that resolve until the test is over. There was an announcement that the next stop was the Altain Duchy. The students were advised to take their bags since they're about to alight the train. Altain Duchy is one of the states belonging to the Raynak Federation and the only state recognized as a neutral state under the Empire. There, even if they are enemies who have been at war for decades, emotions must be excluded. If bloodshed occurs inside Altain, the Raynak Empire, the ruler of the continent, steps forward and judges the crimes. Because of that, large-scale international competitions such as the Magic Festival of the Magic Society and Sword Grand Prix of the Swordsmanship Society are held in Altain. The students were looking around Raynak, an imperial federation